got no stories now.
Hello, Australia, and welcome to the BAP. The intro tune has been interrupted by me vigorously frowning and shaking my head at a certain contributor of the show. I won't mention any names,
It's
but
Dean.
it wasn't Dean or Franco. So,
Yeah, your mic's hot, Jason.
It's Dean.
I cannot.
Did he have a mic off?
No, your mic was hot.
It's Dean.
All the mics were hot.
It's Dean. It's always Dean.
So, the unknown member of the BAP, who isn't Franco or Dean, why are you not up to date with Clever Man?
Oh, I've got no excuse.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we can still talk about it anyway, because I don't think Australia should be held accountable
Well,
To
and
Jason's,
to your timelines.
And we
for
ourselves
some
are
reason, I can binge watch half a dozen other series, but did not get around to checking out.
it's actually a lot harder to watch one episode a week of something
Yeah,
than
yeah.
it is to binge
It's not my
watch
natural-
when time allows.
All of a sudden, when it's a responsibility, you just run
No,
away
it's
from
not
it.
my natural way. I can't watch all of Clever Man, therefore I don't watch any of Clever Man.
Well, if you're now waiting to next week, you can binge watch 2.
So, what
Yes.
did you binge watch this week?
Actually, I was busy finding new employment, so
Oh, excellent. So, you didn't watch any TV this week? Of any...
not as much. No.
Oh, did you watch
However,
any...
I thought in our douchebag buffer we might want to, at some stage, maybe it might be a recurring segment, is discovering games for those couples where one member of the couple aren't necessarily into gaming, and you want to drag them into your life like we did last night.
Yes, we
As
bought our...
hardcore nerds, sometimes we might force these upon our significant others.
Well, this event occurred last night, and let's just say we picked a rather pedestrian game. With this, we were very accommodating of said partners who don't have a natural proclivity to, high-end board
They're
gaming.
just not as interested in it, Franco. Let's face it. Not
Um,
everyone is as interested in it as we are.
I don't think
We're
I've ever
tragics.
forced it on someone. Yeah.
Yeah, well, cards is fairly... my partner was quite happy to play cards, and I knew this bean thing was just
Cards.
another card game. So
Well, I like to think that...
So is Magic the Gathering, Jason?
not quite the same, though. You know what I mean? It's not quite the same.
Well, new games were first foisted upon me. I came in as a gaming virgin
Oh, you're
into
a-
this circle of friendships.
You were a skeptic.
Oh.
You were just... You're a thorough skeptic, Franco. Let's not be polite
this is
about it.
nonsense. Dress ups. What are you doing?
We put up with endless years of derogatory terms from Franco.
And actually, it wasn't you guys that got me into it. It was actually...
Oh, someone cooler had to come along and suggest it, didn't they, Franco?
Well,
It was
I thi-
someone...
Adrian.
it was Adrian.
Oh, right.
So, via Settlers of Catan.
And that's what I was going to ask. Since we tried the Bonanza game, which I thought was actually pretty good.
Bonanza.
And what's the... I was thinking, what's Settlers of Catan like for an entry-level board game that...
I think, well,
It's a pretty common entry level to the board game
Yeah, I've
world.
heard it. I've
it's a
heard it
gateway
works well.
game.
Gateway game.
My major issue with Settlers of Catan is it's not equal start-off points. So it can be quite frustrating that you're already from the beginning of the game going, oh, this is going to be a
You
hard
are
slug for me.
forced very early on to make a decision about where you're going to build your settlements,
Yeah.
which if you don't know how to play...
Well, even if you do know how to play, you can immediately say, geez, this setup is... Because I think from the last time I played, you randomly assign where people are starting from, and some starting positions are better than others.
No, you pick.
You pick, but yeah, but they're not even.
No, they're not even. They're not even, and you can't be next to someone else's. You have to be at least 2 away.
Anyway, so that's a game that's easily accessible to a new player, is it? I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah, no,
basic... I remember
Catan's
playing it
pretty
once. It's so
accessible.
long ago, I can't remember much about it, though.
I have Catan.
Might
We
be
can
worth
sort
a
that
try.
out.
So we did play Beans last night. How did your partner find it in? What was her wrap-up of the evening?
Yeah, she enjoyed it.
You
yeah,
enjoyed it?
But
Helen
pretty
struggled.
well, we all struggled at various times.
Struggled more in terms of her competitive spirit came out.
Oh, really?
Oh, Helen is very competitive. As you may have noticed, some of her frustration that certain generosities weren't reciprocated as she saw it.
I thought she was just getting in character.
No, she was freaking out. That's Helen got to win at all costs
Oh,
coming
wow.
out.
Okay.
Aside, I mean,
And it must really be galling when we can just come in and slide in and just throw cards at the table and go, oh, look, I won.
yes. I joked.
That
with
was
her.
my experience when we first time we played the bean game, because I'm quite competitive, and you didn't give a shit. You just made any deal you could with everyone. You didn't seem to give a shit. You didn't have any
Threw
spite about
cards,
it.
threw
and
quality
you won.
cards. And people kept winning.
And then we played last night, and you were in the top 3 times.
Yeah.
It was tie.
I don't know. I pretty much did the same thing. It was if there's a deal to be made. I noticed because I think we played that game with just the 3 of us
Yep.
before, when you got, I mean, you're almost always going to be able to get rid of your hand of cards because it's when you got 5 people playing.
Yep.
That's what I noticed anyway. But yeah, it was the same thing. Just make the deal.
Yeah, it really depends on the nature of the table. Like last night, everyone didn't care about anyone else getting gold, so the trading really happened quickly. People didn't mind getting rid of cards, even though it would give someone else gold and not them gold.
Yeah.
Whereas I've played in other circles where people are more scrupulous.
I'd
and
be
more
interested
wary
to know
of not-
how our lackadaisical attitude would be handled, would cope with that group of gamers.
It's still hard.
Whether we just get our asses kicked or something because we're just not paying any attention.
It's still.
I was still watching the score.
Yeah.
I kept asking. I was the only one that was asking for score counts to make sure things were progressing okay. But
because I don't never bothered asking the score because it wasn't going to govern how I played. If you know, very rarely, except for maybe that last round. when
I was
you knew
trying
that
to
it was the last
measure
round.
the Jason strategy to see if it was working. Versus, so there are a couple of times where I did things I was like, man, normally I wouldn't do this, but it's a
And
free
what-
card.
I mean, what you came first twice as well.
Twice, yeah. And only probably didn't place that second time because I had a really shit start with
Right.
beans that were like 4 of a kind and 6 of a kind. It was like, ugh.
Anyway, I enjoyed it. And
So we've just rambled about a game that probably nobody who listens would even know what it is, but it's Bonanza. A really good game, very accessible. Get into it.
it's just all about trading cards between people and just being friendly, basically.
Yeah.
Well, and also we were drinking wine and cognac. We were playing the drinking games with
That's
it.
right.
Which I find enhances card games.
Indeed. What? And that poses a question I was going to ask, and you just reminded me. What is the deal about cognac? Why does it have this special air of grace around it, particularly Hennessy XO? It seems to be, permeating through our Western culture that is the par of excellence.
I don't know. I know that when I worked in Hong Kong, I guess it's just like a certain regions have their favoured drinks, I guess, and cognac was just massively favoured in Hong Kong. Like if you're gonna
in China in general.
in China in general, I wasn't sure about that.
Even
but
the
I-
XO is like, because you get XO
Yeah.
sauce and stuff like it's all.
It was like if
linked
they
cognac.
were looking to have, like an expensive evening of drinking, sitting down and having drinks, we might go to a whiskey bar or something like that. They would definitely have cognac as a general kind of rule.
Mm.
Was it preferred anyway? It's not as bad. Not bad actually. The Hennessy stuff was quite nice.
It is
I gotta
nice. I very much like my cognacs. I almost bought a whiskey over. When I got to the store, I saw they had Hennies, and I was like, you know what?
Giddy up.
I'm gonna have brandy instead.
So is Hennessy XO the top tier in the cognac world?
It's
can
the
probably-
top tier cognac I can buy from my local bottle shop.
Right. Okay.
There
I
are
imagine
others
you
I
could
like
spend
more.
a lot more if you really, really, really want to.
Well, it's,
You can.
Yeah.
and it's the most mainstream culturally known
Yeah.
of the cognacs. Probably most people wouldn't know any other cognac besides Hennessy XO.
Well, Remy Martin, they probably know as well.
Um,
But that's it. That's it.
Yes.
Like I like Courvoisier, but they wouldn't know that.
Okay.
But now they do, because obviously that's out there on the internet for people to know.
Reviewing cognac and board games. All in
You
one
know what?
session.
The thing
They
about
go
cognac
together.
is cognac is really good with a nice cigar.
I want to see you guys drinking that cognac as fast as you were that night on TI day.
That was a crime and should never be repeated. Regardless of how drunk one gets, to just burn through a good quality whiskey or cognac is a crime.
Well, I had to go get a water bottle in the end because I needed to not have any more cognac. And that last glass of it I had, I didn't need that.
It's very drinkable.
It is very drinkable, but they get to the point
Yeah,
where
I
you're like,
don't normally-
I can't even really taste this anymore. My mouth is full of cognac.
I'm not normally one that can drink too many. Like I like tequila, but not many other liquors, and that one was pretty easy to drink. I was
I think cognac's very easy to drink. And it's also very potent.
Yes.
40%.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Mind you, have you ever had? Oh no, it's the coffee liqueur tequila made by
Patron.
Patron
No,
Cafe
I
Patron.
don't like it. Hey.
I fucking can drink so much. of
Yeah,
that.
I don't like that one.
So much of that.
And I tried some. I've tried that cafe one, and there's been like a
They make a
coconut
chocolate one as
infused
well.
one that I had
Yeah.
for a while, but that was terrible as well. It's like no, tequila just needs to be tequila.
Just want my agave fruit.
Right. So I can easily get through a bottle of the Cafe Patron on my own
Well, because
in 20 minutes.
it's a
gone.
vicious cycle having that caffeinated alcohol.
Well, it's also only 30% alcohol by volume. It's not as strong as a tequila. So it's like I'm having 2 bottles of wine to myself in 20 minutes. It's not. Don't judge me.
Swinging back to Clever Man.
Whoa. I mean, we can do that.
Did we want to cover episode 4?
I wanted to talk about the Star Wars trailer because it was freaking amazing.
All right. Well, let's park Clever Man until Jason's caught up again.
No, we can talk about it.
All right.
I just
Go
thought we were
for
in the bullshit filter, which was just talking like
Well,
random shit.
Technically, anything is pretty much bullshit filter these
All
days.
Star Trek.
Most of the show.
Star Trek trailer. I've
No,
seen
Star Wars, Frank.
God, what's wrong with me? Star
I mean,
Wars
you can
trailer.
watch. You can watch. I mean, there is a new Star Trek on Netflix these days. You can
No,
watch
let's not
trailers
talk
for
about that. It's
that.
going to make you angry.
It'll make me angry.
It makes him type in bold and with all
length.
caps.
And
all
bullet points.
caps. And all
I
caps.
make you type in bold, in caps, and bullet points. Let me count the ways this is shit.
That's what Star Trek Discovery does today.
You know what? But
Anyway,
the
the
Star
new
Wars
Star
trailer
Wars.
did not. There was nothing about that I needed to type in bold for in a negative way.
Yeah,
I was blown away. It looked awesome.
yeah, it looks good. It looked good.
And
Um,
I particularly like the way they were doing the sort of paranoid Luke. You know, I've never seen that kind of power. I've only seen
I've
that
seen
kind
it
of power once
before.
before in my life, and
And that ended
it
badly.
didn't scare me then, but it scares me now. I was like, oh, I don't know what he's talking about, but I want to know.
Frady Luke. God damn it.
I don't know about his island hideaway. Doesn't seem very spacey to me.
No, I think probably
It's
he
a bit
hates
oligarchy
sand.
kind of thing, isn't it? Your own private island.
I don't know.
He's not exactly a man of the people anymore.
Seems like he's
is our
hiding out in the
Luke.
Scottish Highlands.
Well, he grew up on a desert planet. He probably just wants a change of scenery.
Fair enough.
No fucking sand, please. Beaches, damn it. Still 50% sand.
So,
But no, I thought that was. Look, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's fantastic. Also, looking forward to seeing Blade Runner 2049
Oh yes.
Monday.
Yes.
We can review that
Well,
one.
I mean,
We
the
did talk about
reviews.
that
There's
fair
been some fairly mixed reviews.
is there, I've seen most of
There's
the
been a
positive.
lot of solid ones, but there's been some hardcore Blade Runner people who just turn around and go, "Nah, it's crap." But I don't know. It's going to be polarizing to some extent.
Well, I mean, if you're true purist, you don't really believe there needs to be a
next,
continuation.
yeah.
No, it's a self-contained story. But so why would those good guys even bother watching?
I don't know.
The next
I
edition.
don't know. They want to see what people have done with the franchise, I guess. But yeah,
It's a big risk doing that with the franchise. You know, look at something like Alien. They rolled the dice. We got aliens. Great. They rolled the dice about 6 times after that and just snake-eyed every one of them.
yeah, that's true.
Terminator, roll the dice, boom, sequel's great. Next one, snake eyes.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Godfather.
But I'm
Roll the
going
dice.
to be seeing it a second time. I mean, I enjoyed it enough that I'm really keen to see the visuals again on Blade Runner because they were exceptional. So
See, visuals in films don't do it for me if the story's terrible.
the stories. I mean, the stories.
I haven't seen the film, so I don't know. I'm just saying, like,
it's long, and I reckon that could. If you're not a fan, that would definitely play on you. The fact that it is so long. If you're not absolutely into the sort of theme and everything like that, 2 hours and 43 minutes is going to be a bit of a long sit for anyone.
But you're saying, from what you've seen, the storyline is up to scratch.
I've seen it, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Well, we
and-
talked about this last week, didn't
Yeah.
we? Yeah. in great depth.
if you could rank it, because all the Lord of the Rings films are about that long, would you say it's as good
Oh,
as?
no, not the theatrical releases. They weren't.
Okay, were they shorter?
Yeah, they had the director's cut for the DVDs and that kind of stuff.
So this is like
but they were long.
director's
They were
cut.
decent long. They were decent length movies.
This is like
as well.
director's cut Lord of the Rings length.
Yeah, I reckon.
Wow. And which film would you say it's most like?
What do you mean?
Well, is it as bad as Return of the King, which I have never watched the extended edition for?
Oh,
Or is
I
it
would
like
say
Fellowship, which is pretty good? Or Two Towers, which is like amazing.
My favourite, the one I've seen
Yeah.
probably about 20 times.
Yeah,
and
I've
the
watched the extended that one repeatedly, many
rest-
times.
Even though it has a couple
Yeah,
of cheesy
I-
elements
look,
to it, I still love it for the cheese.
It's hard to say because I would say it's Return of the King was my least favorite of 3. Not particularly bad, but least favorite of the 3.
yeah,
Just the way it was. And I'd say it's between
one of
that.
them has to be your least favorite.
It's between that and Fellowship.
It's like children.
So it's in between there somewhere. I'm not going to say.
It's in between Return of the King and Fellowship.
Yeah.
So it's 2.5. On the, you know, it's like first is Two Towers, then Fellowship, then
Yeah.
Blade Runner. So I mean, it's like, you know, that's not bad.
This is a pretty arbitrary scale we're using.
No.
here.
Well, remember when the new Star Wars film came out and we were talking about Rogue One and how good it was? We were both like,
yeah.
it's not as good as
yeah.
Empire, but it's probably
But it's better than Return.
it's better than Jedi.
Yeah.
And A New Hope, maybe. I don't know. I personally like it more.
I liked Rogue a lot. Yeah, you're right. It had all the right sort of feel for a Star Wars movie.
These are my favourite scales. Just arbitrary films.
You don't think the fact that so many Star Wars movies are coming out in such a short period of time that it's going to cheapen? Remember, we used to have to wait 10 years for a fucking Star Wars movie. And then I think, how long was it between Return and...
I think as long as they don't get to the point
Episode
where...
1. It was like 15 years or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, George Lucas wanted to perfect the crap he was dishing out for the prequels, so you got to expect time. Whereas I think Disney, it's Disney who bought them out, wasn't it?
It was.
They're just using the same old recipe. They go, well, let's see what the first 3 films did, and just repeat more or less.
Rinse and repeat.
And it works. It's a simple formula.
People like it.
Yeah. I think George was nervous about doing another trip to the Star Wars universe. And rightly so, it turns out.
What crack was he smoking when he came up with midi-chlorians?
But no, Frank, it's not just that. What crack was he smoking when he thought, I know what people want to see. They want to see Jedis solving international trade disputes. That'll be my opening scene for my first movie about them in 15 years. 2 Jedis solving trade disputes.
Yeah, I
Compelling.
get that. But the
Must-see
midi-chlorians was an
TV.
even bigger offence. It was like to pretty much say, no, you can't be a Jedi. For 3 episodes, I pretty much said being a Jedi is accessible to anyone.
To introduce that
the Force.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden say, no, you have to be special. You can't have the Force. No one's got the Force unless you're
Only
born
we've
with
got
these-
the Force.
Yeah. That was, yeah.
Midichlorians. It was something they didn't need to expand upon. They could have left it just mysterious, and everyone would have been fucking
It worked
fine with
because
it.
they didn't explain it. That's why it worked.
Yeah, everyone was going to be fine with it. We're fine with it to this point, not knowing how it worked. We would have been fine with it afterwards. Well, technically, we still don't know how it works. So,
Yeah, I think you're right, because the Force is space magic. And
space
no one needs to know how space magic works, because it's space magic.
That's right.
It's
We're
magic.
quite happy to go along with
Yeah.
them on that.
No one goes to a David Copperfield show and goes, yeah, but, you know, he's probably got midichlorians, so that explains that.
His midichlorian count is high.
Yeah.
Very high.
The
David
only sort of measure they had for it in the past was, I feel it's strong in you. That was it. There were no needles and, measuring the equipments.
Yeah.
We're a
Just a general sense of it's strong in you.
We're a well-serviced community when it comes to religions and things like that. We all understand how they work, and we're quite happy to go along with it in a film format.
Look, now you've got me a little worried. I don't. The trailer looked good. There didn't seem to be any mention of midichlorians.
I don't put any faith in trailers because they can make them look as good or as bad as they fucking like. It looked good. It did. It looked fine
See,
to me.
but
Special effects look fantastic.
This film has to be
They're
good.
hinting at the emo transition of form of Kylo Ren. I don't know. He's just getting more emo apparently.
Still
No, see, do you know
There's
what?
a bit of a-
do you
there's
know
a
what I
bit of a
took
come
away
to
from
the
that?
dark side
Yeah, I
thing.
think Rey's going to turn, and I think Ren. This is what I think from watching the trailer. I think that Kylo Ren is coming. He's coming in on Leia's ship. He's gonna fire, but he has this moment. Where he's like, "Fuck! I don't want to kill my mum. I've already killed my dad. I feel bad about that." He doesn't fire.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
Right,
I'd
he
say.
doesn't fire. The fucking First Order guys with him though, they fucking fire, and then he's like rages out, and then I reckon leaves the First Order.
How cool would that be?
Having
It's not a Disney formula, but how cool would
having
that be?
Rey turn. I think it's a bit cheap.
Like, well, she wants training, and Luke's not going to give it to her. Based on that, I've only seen his power once before, and it scares me now. I reckon she's not going to train him.
That's interesting.
He's not going to train
He's not
her.
gonna train her.
And the middle film, according to the old formula, has to be where it's all messed up.
Ends on a downer, yeah.
So maybe they're both going through this period of we'll do swapsies, and then in the final it comes back into.
I don't know.
Well, if
I
they're
don't know.
following that format, yeah, Rey is going to have some crisis of crisis. Well, in Luke's was a crisis of confidence, I guess.
Yeah, he was worried his friends would die.
Yes, and I guess Rey's going to have some similar
She doesn't have
crisis
friends.
as well. Yeah, that's true.
She does evil better as well.
Rey does.
Daisy,
Ray
or
do?
I haven't seen
Sorry,
her in the film.
what's her name? Is it Rey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon when she starts saying to Kylo, "Show me the way," I reckon
Yeah.
she could do evil a lot better
Oh,
than
right.
Kylo
Yeah.
Ren. I reckon she could.
I think Kylo's not going to be the villain
Kylo's just a moody.
because he took his helmet off. You don't
Yeah.
take your helmet off if you're going to be They want you to be recognizable. Notice Captain Phasma, Brienne of Tarth, helmet on. She's a villain.
Yeah.
It's only-
Faceless, corporate puppet villain.
Bit of a lame villain.
Yeah, so far.
The voice is a bit pompous for villainry.
It's a bit wasted putting Brienne of Tarth in full head to toe armor like that, so you don't even see her or anything.
Yeah, but I mean, they've always been sort of, pompous, the Empire, haven't they? They've been very British.
That's
And
true.
the Rebellion, in spite of living in the same world, coming from the same planets, don't have British accents.
True. Weird.
Can't remember. Did Ben Mendelsohn die in Rogue One?
Yes.
Oh, damn! I would like to see him.
Everyone died. Spoiler alert.
They all
died. Apparently they had contracts that would allow people to live and do a second film, but in the editing for Rogue One, they decided to go with the second ending, which was everyone died.
I think it was better for the movie.
Which is why in the original trailer, there's all these scenes that we don't, that just aren't in the movie.
All right.
If you watch the Rogue One trailer, there's a whole bunch of shit that you never see.
Oh, okay.
There's so many reshoots. Anyway, Clever Man.
Yes. So I've watched episodes 4 and 5.
As have I.
Love them. Really
Getting better. I was worried. I think we were talking about this at some point in time playing cards. How it was episode 4 of Clever Man, and I felt a lot like nothing had happened yet, and there was only 2 and a bit episodes, including the one I was watching, to go, and then something did happen, obviously with the shooting.
Yes.
Which was a bit. Even though you knew it was coming because of his visions,
Yes.
it was still very like, oh, that's not good. And then you're like, oh, look, they're going to use.
Are we doing spoilers? You can say them. You don't have to worry about spoilers around me.
I did mention a shooting.
A shooting of who? But
I don't remember the character's name.
oh, so that's
Ash.
Ash. There you go. The redhead who's sleeping with both the bar owners.
Yes.
all right.
And that gets because I was losing track about what's
Yeah, I
going on
didn't
here,
quite fit-
and it becomes very apparent in season 5 that
Episode 5. He knew.
Yep.
He knew.
Yep.
He knew Cohen was doing it. He was being cucked.
Yes. So Blair and Cohen's relationship
Blair, there's
gets
his name.
tested.
Oh, but sounds like it should have been tested a lot earlier.
Yeah. Well, the one of the things I couldn't get my head around, and I don't know, I'm guessing maybe it's just the acting capability of Auntie not being able to speak. So they have Cora, who's seemingly, I'll have to research this, but seemingly speaking an indigenous language, but Auntie doesn't respond.
Yeah.
I wonder if was too difficult.
I'm assuming that. Well, yeah, I don't know actually. Yeah, because Cora was summoned by the uncle whose name I can't remember. Either. Uncle Jimmy.
Jimmy's a bad guy.
Jimmy's not a nice guy, as it's revealed. There are thus far no nice guys in this.
No, that's
series.
the good part.
It's a part. It's a part. The film, movies, TV shows where
What
I
about
can't
the
empathise
Harrys?
with anyone.
They're mainly innocent, aren't they? And just being
there's
in self-defense usually. What, the ones that got put in the black site?
Yeah.
Racist.
No, they call it the hairy site.
No, I understand. Just being funny, Jason.
Yeah.
Well,
But
typically the hairy characters aren't. They're more secondary characters. So in terms of the prominent characters,
secondary citizens.
Oh,
it's just Franco's words,
Right.
not mine.
That's how the show is
the
portraying
only
it.
one-dimensional character that's there is the Doctor. She's seemingly all goody two shoes. They haven't presented.
I did like the way that Lord Friendzone
Slade
had played his wife in such a way that she thought she had found this fertility clinic
Yes.
all on her own, and it turns out that they're working for him
Yeah.
and experimenting with implanting hairy
Yes.
embryos in human hosts.
Because you don't realise that in episode 4.
No.
And then it gets explained in episode...
In episode 5, you're like, whoa.
friend zone. And, you know, kudos
Evil friend
to the
zone.
writers.
He's way out of the friend zone now. He's in the evil zone. It's a dark zone. It's a dark zone.
So what about the Doctor? If she is two-dimensional, she hasn't been developed much. She's
Not so
fairly
two-dimensional, but
she's
one-dimensional, Jason.
But she's pretty benign, right?
In terms of there's no complications.
She definitely
in her
seems
character.
to be trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But now she's carrying a hairy baby, so who knows? Who knows what effect that will have? And Lord Friendzone's taking hairy Viagra pills.
Yeah, that was pretty good. The juice, the hairy juice,
hairy
as
juice.
they called it.
Oh my god.
So,
But yeah, I've been pretty impressed with the writers in these later episodes. You know, considering they probably have a very limited budget, and yet amazingly they can write well. Hello, Star Trek Discovery.
yeah, look, I was worried that Waru would be a very one-dimensional character, Totally not. I was
No.
always predicting he'd be the villain. He's not necessarily a nice guy.
No.
But he's not. He's also not entirely the villain either.
It's complicated.
I mean, sure, he broke a man's neck with his bare hands, but that guy was a prison guard, and he was trying not to.
He probably had it coming, right?
Well, he was not a nice guy,
And he probably had it coming.
and he didn't have a choice. You know, he was put in a situation. I don't know.
and
But then he took $30 million from Lord Friendzone.
to give up his half
Well,
brother.
is it really stealing if it's stealing from such a...
He sold
Such
his
an
brother
asshole?
to him for $30 million.
Oh.
See what you were
Sold-
missing out on,
Sold
sir.
Cohen to him.
Yeah, he hasn't delivered on it yet. He tried to. They had a scrap. It didn't end well.
The interesting thing about Cohen is he begins to show us the wayward sheep, the lost sheep of the family, and you're sort of expecting at any moment when's he going to be the good hero, and it just doesn't happen. He's being pushed and shunted, and you're expecting at any moment he's going to be the hero.
And do the right thing.
Not quite. He's pushed, and it's quite enjoyable viewing that they're doing it that way, rather than at any given moment that he just becomes good and I accept the power of the clever man and I do good things. No, he's still selfish and
I also
still
like.
resisting.
I also like the way they show that he's not infallible as well. So when he and Cora tried to heal Ash, and it didn't work,
Well, I'm still wondering what happens with that, because
I wasn't sure, but it looked like they were trying to heal her wounds, and it kind of worked. But
something
she still
happened.
died.
I reckon there's still something to play out with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I like that. I binge watched 4 and 5 together. I couldn't not watch 5 after
Yeah.
4, and then I went to start on 6 and felt very guilty because this was 2 weeks ago, and I was
Yeah.
like, I can't just watch to the end of the season and then it'll be too hard. It'll be too hard.
Well, what's a little bit disappointing is I looked at the ratings,
Yep.
and the ratings have gone south for season 2
Oh, wow.
comparatively to season 1. And I don't know if that's just
It might be hard. We haven't seen where the story's going to finish, but sometimes people box themselves into a corner because they're like, I don't know if we're going to get a second season, so they have to have a satisfying ending to this arc with enough places to pick up. But sometimes, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, the ratings suggest that it won't get a third season from what I've seen.
That's
No,
a
they're literally
shame.
half.
That's a shame.
And obviously they were trying to do a big play in the US,
Yeah.
and it hasn't been looking good. So, which is a shame because, as I've mentioned previously, I enjoy seeing Aboriginal culture presented
You might.
in a sophisticated light.
Yeah, you might find though, because it's at least partly produced by the ABC, that they may continue to fund it anyway because of promoting Indigenous culture, or maybe they could go the streaming model because you don't have to get fantastic ratings to be on a streaming show. You
I also
definitely
thought
don't
I
have to.
heard it was doing well overseas as well. Like,
Season 1, yes.
yeah.
Season 2 ratings, not so good.
Oh, okay. So that's international ratings as well.
I'd have to double check. It was they just listed US and Australian.
Oh, okay.
You know who's not complicated in the Clever Man series? White characters, except Lord Friendzone. Generally, they seem buffoonish.
I thought that the Peter Dutton character, whose name I also can't remember,
The
was-
minister.
the
as they
minister.
call him.
The Peter
Yeah,
Dutton
he was-
stand-in.
he was pretty funny in that he was talking to the hairy mother of the daughter and
Yes, I can't remember her name.
whatever the other guy's name is.
Tasma Walton in real
Yeah,
life.
Tasman Walton's character. How he's like, we're gonna go live in a harbourside villa. You'd love to live there, wouldn't you? And in my head, I'm like, she's gonna rip your throat out at some point. At some point,
Something's gotta go down.
You're gonna die. But yeah, no, it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good.
Any other? Oh,
No.
how's the Orville going?
I haven't caught this week's Orville
Well, Jason and I normally watch on Fridays
Mm-hmm.
after cards.
after cards, and since we didn't play cards on Friday, so I had to cancel. I also haven't watched the Orville, so I'm gonna save that for the next
Okay. Well,
card one.
we all did watch, even though Dean swore he would not. We're all up to date with Star Trek Discovery, and the latest episode,
Yeah.
episode 3, was the Klingon episode. I still declare them the worst Klingons ever.
Yeah. No, there's nothing natural about their
It's
speech
not
patterns.
even the Klingons that are the problem. I mean, they're a problem, but it's really fucking weird that anyone would leave their ships for 6 months
Just floating.
just floating.
It's the only one with cloaking technology, as you pointed out.
And the weirder part about it for me was that Michael received the telescope that Captain Michelle Yeoh's character, whose name I couldn't
Philippa
remember.
Giorgio.
Yeah, Captain Philippa Georgiou.
Must have come from the derelict vessel,
Which had to have come from the vessel,
which was still there.
which was still there with a functioning
With a
dilithium converter
yeah,
or something.
Yeah.
And if you're going to take a telescope, by all means, take a telescope. If you feel like, oh, the captain's telescope, that's something we should take, fine. Ship's logs, whatever. Why the fuck didn't you scuttle the ship? Or also take any of the technology that you could use in other ships?
That's one of the... Actually, I didn't find that a particularly heinous
It bugs
overlooking.
me.
No, I'm sure it did, but I
And
felt
then
there
there's a
was even
Klingon
bigger
ship
ones.
there with the only fucking cloaking device known to exist in the universe that they also leave there for 6 months. That the Federation know they have. That the fucking Klingons know they have.
You're getting way too complicated with your reasons why you should dislike that episode. The one where the head of security just drops the force shield around the proven to be quite lethal fucking multi-legged creature.
Of
that
which
was
they
behind it.
know
And
that
the
their
creature
phases don't work on them.
And they know their weapons don't work, and the thing promptly jumps out and kills the
Yeah.
kills the head of security. I'm like,
My
what?
reasoning for that was she's a Cylon and she's just come back to life on a resurrection ship. It's fine.
That was bizarre.
and then it's subdued by lights on computer.
And then it goes back into its hole.
Yeah. That was even more annoying is these people live in a universe which is just dark all the time. But if they need to, they could be like, hey, computer, could you just actually turn the lights on for a minute? Because it's a bit fucking dark in here. Right. We've dealt with the Tardigrade today, whatever they are. Tardigrade. That's the word. We've dealt with that. Bang, lights back down to normal, please. Darkness.
It was weird. There's a whole bunch of things. I'd been pretty forgiving in my review of Star Trek Discovery up until this episode. And then this one I went, no, it's just getting lazy already. Just getting lazy writing, not providing decent fucking reasons when anyone who spends 5 minutes just looking at the story and the narrative they want to produce could easily churn out something better, I think.
So
How did she rise to become head of security?
I don't know. Clearly...
Because she's got, like, no survival skills. Very, very limited threat assessment skills.
Well, no, total ignorance of any threat assessment. They knew what this thing could do. It had killed them.
Well, the captain demanded results.
And she was like, I'm wearing a blue jumpsuit, I'll be fine.
I'm not... Yeah, that's right. I'm not a red shirt. Anyway.
So what happened with the spore drive in future iterations of Star Trek?
I'm assuming they decide that because they're basically harming a sentient life form to power it, that they're not going to use it. I don't know, man. It's a really good question because you wouldn't...
The space vegans pulled them up on that and said,
But
look,
you wouldn't have to have a sentient creature powering it. You just have to have a powerful enough supercomputer, which they don't have right now. So eventually, spore drive. Who knows? I feel like it's just not Star Trek. It's another science fiction show that they've just put the branding on.
Well, this is the problem. I think what I was reading about Brian Fuller was his intention was to do single series series.
Yeah.
So at different points in the Star Trek
Yeah.
history. So I thought that sounds like a great idea. You could do in a whole one series about that famous battle they always reference. I forget what it's called. Between the Klingons and the...
That's what I
always
thought.
Reference?
I thought that this season was supposed to be, because there's the first Klingon War, I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be that.
Which would be great. And I think that was Brian Fuller's intention, to just do that, then jump somewhere else and continue doing that and, infuse his dark vision. And obviously they bundled him out and tried to continue on and just aren't capable of it. Too conservative. Like, for instance, he wanted to spend more money on the uniforms.
Yeah.
And look what we've got now.
Yeah. The uniforms suck.
Yeah.
They're too glittery. They're just... And the only rank insignia people have is on their fucking shoulders, on their epaulets, whatever they are.
You can sort of see where he was heading. It's just clumsily executed.
Yeah.
I really hope he wasn't the reason why the Klingons look the way they do, or how clumsily they're put together.
Yeah, I can see they're physically going to have to change that. They can't make them talk like that through an entire season. Come on, guys.
With no facial expressions. This was what was great about the Klingons versus the humans, was how the gap between them. The Klingons were primal, whereas the humans were uptight and controlled, but the Klingons would force them to confront that they do have an animal instinct themselves, whereas they're same. They're sort of
Yeah, I also like the fact that the Klingons, they were honourable, which, these ones don't seem to be, crashing somewhere with a cloak ship. But they also like poetry and singing. Like, they had They were a very Viking sort of culture, you know. And there were bits about them where you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And they've lost all of that.
Mm. They're just like emo Krishnas.
Yeah.
Well, we're only seeing that particular ship, which is full of those
No, because another one showed up to
acolytes.
take the cloaking device, and he had those red stripes on his face, but also no hair, and a face full of prosthetic teeth, and couldn't talk properly. And
Yeah, but I'm just not impressed by it. That episode switched me right around from being fairly forgiving to
Are you still going to watch?
might get another one out of me, another episode. But
I'll keep watching. I can't help myself. I'm a sucker for punishment. Same like when I watch. Well, I'm starting to fail on Designated Survivor.
oh yeah, I gave
I'm
up on
on
that
struggle
pretty
street
quick.
with that.
I gave up on that pretty quick. That was
that's Kiefer Sutherland, right?
Yeah.
See that? I see that on Netflix sometimes. Like, maybe I should start watching that.
Yeah. No, don't. And
Don't even start.
you know, I won't even say that about Star Trek Discovery. I find it amusing you keep watching it. And I'm not telling you to stop, but with Designated Survivor, season 2 is getting pretty lame.
The thing is, I love Star Trek. It's my childhood. I grew up watching it. I really, really want this to be good, and it's not. And I just every now and then I tune in, and you know, just hoping that's for some reason because a pilot. You know, it's just the pilot. They make like they have to sell a series. Maybe it was terrible,
Yeah.
but and it just wasn't better.
No, I gave it a fair bit of leeway.
See, I didn't have that emotional attachment to Star Trek, but I have an emotional attachment to DS9, and I want another DS9, and I thought this might be another DS9, and it's not another DS9.
It's not going to be. Deep Space Nine went to the effort of like 5 years of character establishment before they told a war story.
Yeah.
So that you actually felt invested in these characters and cared about them. With this one, it opened on one
Mm.
with people I had no emotional connection to. One of them betrayed another one in a mutiny, and I was like, I don't care. I don't even really know who these people are. She seems like a dick. She seems like a dick as well. That Saru guy seems all right, but I mean, if the ship's being blown up, he's not going to be around. Oh, he's back for some reason as well. Yeah, I don't know.
Right, chaps, I think we've cleared out the douchebags. What have we
Yeah,
got for
probably.
newsies?
I've only really got one story that I've brought with me to talk about, which is the Harvey Weinstein allegations.
Oh, that's huge and gross and
And dragging any number of names in with it.
yeah. So
Yeah, but it's been going on for 30 years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like people didn't know.
Well, the Ronan Farrow he had to peddle his story to some other network because his own network wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
I think it was at MSNBC or CNN, whichever one he was with for, and he ended up having to go to New York, the New
New York
Yorker.
Times broke.
Yeah.
The New Yorker.
No.
the journalist had Matt Damon and Ben Affleck calling the individual to drop the story.
Yeah. So,
Amongst
if
other
anyone
people.
hasn't been paying attention, Harvey Weinstein, who I didn't know who he was,
He was the head of Miramax.
but I might have heard his name in passing.
and now the Weinstein Company. Not anymore,
But
but he was.
clearly one of the one of the most powerful sort of men in Hollywood. Turns out he's a complete asshole and
Predator.
Well,
sexual
women.
do
predator.
you know what the most terrifying thing about this is? And this is from me watching Joe Rogan's podcast. But this is a point Joe Rogan made is what you're seeing now are just the women who said no. These are his failed pitches.
Yeah.
So there's like 30, 35 women coming
Yeah.
out saying he raped them or that he sexually harassed them or he was very
and these are the
inappropriate.
ones that didn't
And
go along
these are
with
just ones
it.
that didn't go along with it. How many people out there actually just they're like, well, it's Harvey Weinstein. He's the head of one of the most powerful networks. I want to be famous. I want to be successful, and this is my cue to get there.
Yeah.
It's disturbing.
Someone said, "Hey, you got a choice between a career earning about $30 million a year, or
Or you're a waitress.
you're nobody.
All you
And
do
he
is
has-
suck that guy's dick.
and he has that power. Yeah,
That's the power they have. You had, I saw a piece on Terry Crews,
Yep.
who said an executive fondled him, sexually assaulted. Fondling is the wrong word. Sexually assaulted him by fondling, and he said, he thought for a moment about retaliating, and then thought, well, I want a career in Hollywood, so I'm just going to live with it.
Yeah.
And this is a muscle-bound, behemoth who could just flatten someone, and said, if
Chose the career.
yeah, and if someone who can actually defend themselves is still going to go, I'll wear it. Imagine all these, women who've, been presented in this situation.
Yeah, it's supremely messed up.
What's did you have any details you want to?
I got details. I don't necessarily. The other one I thought was really interesting. It was a tweet by Lena Dunham, who I am a fan of, and she pointed out to everyone that thinks that the Weinstein Company is reacting very fast by firing Harvey Weinstein. They're not reacting fast. They're reacting fast to the negative publicity.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they have known about this for
As
long
everyone
time.
keeps saying, it was an
Years.
open secret for so long.
Yeah, they've
Seth
known about
MacFarlane made a joke about it. At
repeated jokes about it is bad. Yeah,
Yeah, but one of was it the Emmy Awards or something like
Yeah.
that? There's 5 more women that don't have to pretend that they find Harvey Weinstein sexually attractive. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's great. One of the interesting things I've seen is, and this is just a little Twitter bubble world thing. Someone like Mike Cernovich, who's coming out and saying all the Democrats have to renounce Harvey Weinstein because he was a good fundraiser for the
It
Democrats.
was a very good fundraiser for them.
But Mike Cernovich has totally ignored the fact that there's someone he supported, like Donald Trump, was the pussy grabber in chief, and he's on tape. The hypocrisy. I mean, I know you got to be expecting hypocrisy everywhere, but it's just so out there and so blatant that you've got a guy as the head of the country, and they're making a big deal out of Harvey Weinstein now, like making it a partisan issue, when it's clear the issue is not partisan at all. It's across all the whole.
Predators have a bipartisan unity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for them, just the sheer gall of them to be able to call out one other and make it a big deal for one party when the head of their own party is the most well-known date rapist in America.
Grabber-in-chief.
I mean, the president isn't the head of their party, though.
No, he is. He's the head of the Republican Party once he's the president.
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
Obama was also the head of the Democratic Party for the term of his presidency.
Okay. My bad.
Yeah.
Because they don't seem to like him.
No, they don't like him, but he is the.
They like him in as much as that they can get their tax cuts passed through.
They're
hoping to.
Yeah, that's not true.
It hasn't happened yet.
So yeah, just the hypocrisy, because it's all going through the news circles, the way your Fox News and that is all demanding the Democrats bloody renounce. Oh, I suppose the other thing was all those actors that are one of our favourite Ben Affleck is being forced to he
came out and put a tweet out saying how reprehensible the behaviour was, and then someone called him out with some footage of him groping a journalist's breasts.
Yeah.
How about this?
There's actually other footage of Ben Affleck doing very inappropriate
it's all
stuff.
coming out now. But
I sent some more through there was some stuff from these guys in Canada. They were like, this happened in Montreal. No one's talking about this as well. Like,
there's this whole thing about one journalist who every time she had an interview with Ben Affleck, she had to sit on his lap.
yeah.
An MTV reporter. So I bet he wishes he shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I was surprised that Matt Damon called up the reporter to try and quash the story. And
he reckons he didn't do that though.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, Matt Damon has come out and said that didn't happen.
That was crap.
It may not have been. It may have been other people. Maybe someone said they were Matt Damon, but Matt Damon reckons he never did it.
Okay.
He said it. He was shocked by the allegations because Harvey's a good friend of his, and he had no idea any of this had ever happened. Which I don't know. That's interesting as well. How could you have no idea? It seems like it was an open secret.
Yeah.
It seems a little bit. And I don't want to lump him in
but
to the same group as Bill Cosby, but it seems a little bit like
the sheer behaviour that he was getting away with. I mean, it's not just the sleazy groping behind doors kind of thing. It was the masturbation in a hallway or stuff like that.
Did you hear the tape of Harvey Weinstein talking to an Italian model and how he was begging her to come into the room and don't make a fool out of me in public? And it was just, it's gross.
Yeah. And that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough to get what they needed because she was wearing a wire because she had gone forward to the police and then they went and decided, no, there's not enough there and didn't pursue it in any way. So it wasn't until Ronan Farrow came along and started doing the story. And because
it's Mia Farrow's daughter, right?
Son.
There's
an interesting story there as well.
Ronan
Farrow is Mia Farrow's son. Right. Not necessarily to Woody Allen though. She had a bit of a fling with Frank Sinatra apparently. Okay. Ronan Farrow is Frank Sinatra's. It's alleged. And then when you see pictures of Ronan Farrow and Frank Sinatra, you go, yes, that's definitely what happened. Anyway, so he had his own story, and now I can't remember if he was with CNN or MSNBC. He pitched it to them, and they got all sorts of pressure and would not publish. And that's when he went to the New Yorker, and they took it on straight away. So
Yeah, I mean, but Weinstein's been paying people off for a long time. Like,
Yeah, that's right. There's the New York DA, fresh from his scandal of being paid off possibly by Ivanka and Donald Trump Jr. about some fraud charges, is then involved in this one as well, because Harvey Weinstein apparently was giving him a lot of money to keep quiet on these things.
yeah,
That's how business is done in New York.
it is seemingly how business is done in New York. Interestingly enough, this weekend Weinstein was kicked out of the Academy for Motion Picture Sciences and Arts and Sciences. So the Academy.
So you can't vote on
the Academy
the
Award.
good-
He's out. They're not. He's no longer a member. They've removed him from that, which is he won Academy Awards many
It's the
many
least they
times.
could do. It's the very, very least they could
and then
do.
the other thing they said, they acknowledged that. It was a good quote. They kicked him out, and then in a statement they released, the era of willful ignorance and shameful complicity in predatory behaviour and workplace harassment is over.
The era of the pajama boy is over.
Well, no, at least they're acknowledging that there were people there that
Yeah, they're doing
that
the very,
fucking
they're
knew
doing the
about
very
this and
least
did
they could
nothing.
have done. They should have done a long time ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, but as I said, they're all running out ahead of the publicity now.
they really are.
It's only because of the publicity. It seems like you can't get a criminal conviction on any people on anyone powerful in this country. You only have the court of public opinion now, in which to force something to happen, and that's pretty sad.
Yeah, certainly in America, yeah.
Just like Bill Cosby, he got away with it as well.
He's
And
still
the only
getting away with
and
it.
the only punishment he got was the court of public opinion. Was the fact that everyone turned against him.
Yeah, and that one's arguably worse.
And I don't even know how. Well,
I mean, he was drugging
what do you mean?
people
He
and
can't.
raping them.
You
He
think,
was drugging and raping people.
but that's even worse. And he got away with it. You think they can't get away living in their
Oh
fucking?
no! I'm saying like his behaviour was worse,
Yeah.
and he still got away with it. Like it's that one is very sick and disturbing, and
Yeah.
especially for someone who was so regarded as the ideal family man in America, and then
Yeah, he was a big part of
drugging and
a
raping
big
other
proponent
people's
of
children.
respectability politics.
Yeah.
And what do you know? Turns out he's got no
not so
respectability.
respectable. Not
Yeah.
so respectable.
Following on from what Jason was saying about how right-wing conservatives have jumped on this example to paint a broad brush against anyone who's progressive.
There's nothing surprising about that. Yeah.
Guess who chimed in on this one? And I sent this article to you, gentlemen, during the week from Miranda Devine.
Yeah.
Wrote a piece on this, and let me just read the first, how she enters this delicate topic. Because he's such a shameless toad, Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein inadvertently blew the whistle on the protection racket at the heart of identity politics. If you bow to the altar of the globalist left's grab bag of causes, LGBTIQ, racism, feminism, open borders, abortion, feminism, climate change, the Clintons, pro-Islam, anti-Christian, and you buy yourself protection. What sort of nonsense article is that? How can anyone lead in with it thinking that that's a
She's
serious
not-
opinion piece?
But
with
she's
that
not
trash?
lying, though. That is correct to some extent. That's one reason why he got away with it for so long. Because he was paying lip service to these ideals and the Clintons and all these really powerful people.
Yeah, but conservatives do that as
And the
well.
Obamas.
no,
That's
absolutely
just-
they do it. Yeah, absolutely they do it as well.
You know, where was her article on Bill O'Reilly or Roger Ailes?
well,
You know, it's just nonsense.
But that's right. And then it's someone like this where they're making a point about Harvey Weinstein. Trump is the biggest example out there. And why I don't know. Is Miranda
I don't
Devine
know.
done any writing
I don't
around
know.
Trump?
No.
I think it'll be interesting to see, because I think Bill Cosby is probably the biggest serial rapist in the world. Harvey Weinstein's probably up there competing for it now. I don't think Trump is a serial rapist of their magnitude. You know, their behaviour.
I don't know.
Is
The guy
so reprehensible.
basically purchased a beauty contest just so he could harass women.
Look, maybe it'll come
So
out.
he
Maybe,
get-
it'll,
yeah,
yeah,
I
maybe it'll
mean,
come out as well.
And it's funny you say that because champion of free speech, what was his name? Why does it escape me right
He's
now?
a champion, so you should know
Larry
his name.
Flint,
Oh yeah.
producer of Hustler magazine, put a full-page advertisement in the Washington Post weekend edition offering $10 million for anyone who can supply information that leads to the impeachment of Donald J. Trump, president.
You gotta love.
Putting his money where his mouth is.
You gotta love.
It's-
Larry Flint's awesome.
Yeah.
You don't look happy, Dean?
No,
You worrying about vigilante justice?
No, I'm not worried about vigilante justice. I'm just worried about.
God damn it! I
like,
want that $10 million. If I knew.
I don't know enough about Larry Flint, but I don't imagine.
Larry Flint's a shit stirrer, and he's good at it.
Yeah.
He's piped up at interesting times.
And
So
and his politics
he offered
do
a
seem to
$1
be pretty
million
good.
bounty for anyone that could provide information on some senators. I don't know if it was senators or governors who are being having extramarital relations, because there was a certain point where they were going on, the Conservatives were going on a warpath about.
Yeah.
And he knew that was bullshit. Some of these guys were up to their necks in infidelity, and he offered a reward for anyone that can produce evidence.
Shut up, or I'll put the bounty up even higher. He should have said.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I just there's something about the individuals like that run these big empires they're in an exploitative industry.
Well,
Like Hugh Hefner's not a nice guy, right? He's not a nice guy.
No, I mean, and the fact that
He's basically
no,
doing
you should
what
never
Weinstein
be
did,
we
but
should
in
never
the
be
public
relying
eye.
on the good the good fortune of one particular.
Well, none of the mechanisms in the government bureaucracy of America prevented Trump getting in.
Yeah, no, that's right.
I don't think he won. I think Hillary lost, but sure. I think it was, he wasn't the kind of politician who was running a campaign. I mean, there was some stuff he did around, appealing to blue collar workers who probably, felt their jobs were moving away. That was quite smart for the campaign. But the rest of his campaign was a bit of a disaster. It's just Hillary's was more of a disaster.
Indeed.
And obviously if you believe Hillary,
Yeah,
her interviews, the FBI
I fully
against
believe that we wouldn't have President Trump if there was almost anyone other than Hillary Clinton on the other side.
Satan.
Yeah. She was the flawed candidate that was probably the only one that could lose to Trump. Whereas she probably would have beat the other guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah, she would have, yeah.
But Trump had that populist message coming out that she just could not tap into as much as she tried.
Yeah, anyway, I guess we'll see. You're right. Trump might be guilty of similar behaviour in the past. It probably wouldn't be that surprising if he was.
Well, they've got a tape of him saying he does it.
Yeah, they do.
I mean-
they've got a tape of him saying that he has in the past sexually harassed people.
Yeah.
Grab him in the pussy, apparently.
That's right. They've got a tape of it. So I mean, sure, they can opine about
But if
whatever.
you're president,
But if
it's
they're
okay.
going to make a big point about, if Miranda Devine's going to make a big point about Harvey Weinstein, they should be
Oh.
talking about Donald Trump. But she won't.
is a hack
Yeah.
of the first order.
Anyway,
But people publish
that
her.
matches my experience on Twitter, where you got the right wing, the alt-right people who are pretty much always on Trump's side, and they're just making a big point about this, just totally ignoring the fact, even acknowledging that Trump might be anyway like this himself.
I think what you'll find the difference between, and I hate even sort of making it sort of binary like this, the left, the right. Seemingly, what I experience on the left is when you have a monster like Harvey Weinstein who associated himself with the left, people on the left go, guy was a monster. Yeah, he gave lots of money, but he was a monster. On the right, they'll go tooth and nail to defend the individual. Oh,
That's
he was
true,
having
yeah.
family problems. Oh, it's fake news. And that's probably a generalisation. I'm sure there's a lot of people on the right who will
It just
call
takes a
out.
lot more.
Well,
I
I mean,
think.
there were a lot of people on the left for a number of years, decades even, who defended Harvey Weinstein, who spoke in his radio, who thanked him for his contributions.
I mean, we can take a look at what happened with someone like who wasn't really on the in crowd, and that's Milo Yiannopoulos. And he got censured badly. Like, once it came out about said some positive things about pedophilia, and bang, he was excommunicated.
Whoa. He just said it might be good for some boys.
Yeah. And but in the case of, there's been other Republican politicians that they closed ranks around.
Yeah.
No matter what they did, what infidelities they exposed. or
I'm pretty
anything
sure if you spoke favourably about pedophiles, the Republicans would throw you under a
Yeah,
bus.
that's the one line you can't cross.
And also, being a gay man probably doesn't help. But
he immediately
he was
lost
probably
any
okay
support
because
that
he was their gay man.
For
But
a
as soon
while,
as he was
yes.
like their gay man who thinks pedophilia is okay,
his position was tenuous.
yeah.
So you were saying Joe Rogan had some comments on the subject. Who was he interviewing, and what was the sort of gist of it?
Joe was talking to Claire. I forget her last name. I didn't recognize everything. It was just really. I find Joe very entertaining. They were talking a lot.
I agree.
They were talking a lot about how when Joe was on news radio and he was acting, all the rumors about Bill Cosby being drugging and raping women were around. It was just like a common secret that people knew about. And then when Hannibal Beres came out and made the jokes about it, like everyone knew, and everyone was watching. It was like, hang on, what the fuck? Is that true? And they did the investigation. It was appears like it was true. And then so he was saying that there's similar things about Harvey Weinstein. You know, had been around these rumors for a while, and he was talking about the couple of interesting points he made was around. It's, you know, there are these people that are. He was the one that made the point about, you know, what about the women who said yes? Like, this is just his misses. Obviously, this is a pitch he'd refined over decades, and there's just some people that happen to have so much self-respect they weren't going to go down that path. But there were probably still
There's probably some that did. Yeah.
tens or hundreds of women out there who can still, as they're reading that story, imagine what Harvey's cum tasted like in their mouth.
Yeah, you really,
That was what Joe said.
you really had to go there.
Joe went down. He
I
went
don't care
worse
if
than
you're
that.
quoting
He
Joe.
went worse than that. He mentioned, you know, like asparagus tasting, maybe a bit of caviar.
Oh, no.
Jeez.
Joe Rogan.
And then he talked about how it would be. It's the other side to consider. And he's like, he's by no means making excuses for Harvey Weinstein. Is that Harvey probably lives as a very multi-millionaire, rich, powerful man with a big company. He's probably surrounded by yes men and people that would just make shit like this go away. And it's probably very hard in that environment when people are doing that for you to get help.
To be basically human.
Well, no, not to be basically human. He was like, you know,
I don't think he
the
wanted
behaviour's
help.
reprehensible.
I don't think he wanted help until he got caught.
Yeah, no, and
He didn't want any help until he got caught.
I don't think he's sorry. He's just sorry he got caught.
Yeah.
Um,
Because there would have been many times he saw the results of his predatory behaviour
yeah.
and obviously had no effect on him.
He's probably ruined a few careers.
Well, yeah, no.
Well, more than that.
For sure, yeah. Rosanna Arquette says that her career basically, after she turned him down,
Stalled after
being in Pulp Fiction and stuff. So no, I've written a bunch of, you know, and he made some jokes about, you know, Harvey Weinstein. He's the kind of guy who looks exactly like the kind of guy it turns out he is. And he's like, it's pretty funny that he's the bathrobe guy. You know, he's the guy when you're in there and you're having a meeting and you're having a discussion. Like, I'll be right back. And he comes back and he's wearing a fucking bathrobe with an erection. He's like, that's the guy he is now. He's forever going to be remembered as. And he's also, you know, what kind of a guy jerks off into plants? Is he hoping that women will jump on the grenade or something? Like some greenie's going to try and save the plant?
That's just crazy behaviour.
Yeah, it's out of control.
Yeah.
His wife left him immediately.
Yeah,
Immediately,
immediately.
But you'd have to imagine that she probably also had some idea that this kind of behaviour was
And this
happening.
is just confirmation. It was like, fuck it. I have to put up with this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I've got an out. I've got a ripcord out of this situation.
There'll be no brownie points on standing behind your man this time.
No, not in this
Yeah,
one.
no.
It's going to be like, she got out. She did the right thing. How long she knew? Well, who knows? But
Well, again, though,
But she
multi-millionaire, probably not sleeping with him. If you had any hint that kind of behaviour is going on, you'd be like, you know, we'll stay married so that I can spend your money. And, you know, but...
I suspect she'll probably get plenty of his money now anyway.
Yeah. No, look, it's worth watching Joe's little take on all this. It's very, you know, there's some jokes he makes which is like, oh god, that's a vile thought. I don't want to think about.
Yeah, come on, Joe.
But
Settle down.
yeah. No, look, I'm a little just blown away, especially because he was so close to, like, I've seen fucking Hillary Clinton thanking. I've seen Michelle Obama thank Harvey Weinstein for the contributions. You know, like, he's really tightly connected, and people who should have known about this, like, if you're taking big donations from people, you'd be like, right, how could this? What's the blowback from this? Is there any potential that Harvey Weinstein is doing bad things? Oh, there is. Like, potentially, we don't want the fucking money.
How much is that? Yeah, it's. I mean, the fact that it was obviously used as a bit of a quid pro quo situation as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I suppose could it be a case of he's got a lot of connections. If you don't take his money, he might sour you with your other donations.
Yeah, maybe.
Donors.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a possibility. I mean, I was reading some of the stuff Angelina Jolie was talking about when she was 17. There was some inappropriateness. I think she was 17 at the time with Harvey Weinstein. He tried to do something, and she's refused to work with him ever since. From that moment, you know, which I think obviously it would have been better if she had gone to the police, but And she's warned everyone else she knows. If
But
they're
there's
like,
that
I'm going to do something
situation,
for
right?
she's like, don't
Are
do
you
it.
going to be that girl that like young and you think you've probably got a career ahead of you? This could derail the whole thing.
Yeah.
Immediately.
And women aren't incentivized to report this sort of
No,
behavior.
they don't. They often don't get treated very well.
No.
Well, I was actually wondering. Do you know who made Hackers? Was that Miramax or was it something else? Or
I don't know.
because Angelina Jolie just sort of vanished for a little while after that. There was this period where she wasn't around, and
That's
after having
true.
been brilliant in Hackers, I was wondering if that was in any way related. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Anyway, he looks like the kind of guy it turns out he is.
Yeah. Hmm.
For me, it was nice though. For once this week, the newspapers were not full of ridiculous same-sex marriage equality. You know,
Well, and no
The story
news
was
about
eclipsed.
bordering on nuclear war with Korea.
yeah.
For the most part.
Basically, Trump's focus was on people taking knees still at NFL games. War on
Oh, that
Christmas.
was ridiculous when Mike Pence stormed out as well.
Totally staged, totally
Yeah.
set up. Nothing but an opportunity grab to divert attention from other failing policies of the
Yeah.
Trump administration. Because basically that story was dying out. And so they chose to reinflame it, and because it makes good ratings for them. Donald Trump started
It actually rates surprisingly well, even with people in Australia who are, fairly right-wing conservatives. I've seen people on Facebook bitching about the fact that the exact words when I was in a Facebook conversation, it was good to see at the AFL and NRL grand finals, no one used the national anthem as an excuse to overly politicise things, or no one took a knee type of thing.
I don't get where people get this obsession with standing for anthems and flags.
Well, the thing about at the AFL grand final, I fucking watched the game. Richmond were all brothers in arms. When the anthem played, really nice to see. Adelaide, arms down by side, staring down Richmond, trying to look like they're all angry men. That to me wasn't like the spirit of what you should be doing either. But at the same time, I don't give a shit. But like to point out, it's really good they were all in the spirit of the anthem. No, they fucking weren't. One of the teams definitely wasn't in the spirit of the anthem.
I think a symbol of a great nation is a nation that doesn't get too upset about whether people stand or not for flags and anthems.
Yeah, I think if the thing that bugs me is the way that the right wing try and weaponize veterans. They're
Yes.
like, oh, it's being disrespectful to the veterans. I tell you what, if the veterans want to say that it's disrespectful to veterans, please speak up, because if it is, we'll have something to talk about. But you can't just go, oh, you're being disrespectful to that guy over there. How the fuck do you know how he feels? You're just making an assumption. You're a rich white guy who dodged the fucking draft. You have no idea how veterans feel, and I guarantee they think you're a draft dodging son of a bitch.
You could take a survey and you wouldn't be any closer to knowing
Yeah.
how they feel.
You could be standing or taking a knee for the national anthem. They're still going to think you're an asshole. Anyway, not to get angry on veterans' behalves or put myself in their assumptions.
In local news, I saw Mark McGowan's government failed to get the gold tax over the line.
Yeah, Liberal Party blocked it.
Yeah.
That was interesting. It was another one of those taxes that wasn't really going to impact. Like they sold it. You see all the ads about how many jobs it was going to cost?
Oh, yeah, that's the usual go-to.
Yeah.
You're talking about the mining lobby groups, where in
Yeah.
our case,
Yeah.
the Mining Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
They went hard on
There
the
was a
jobs
lot of
angle.
ads. I noticed it. And the fact that it's going to cost any jobs at all when it's a tax.
No, it just costs money. It costs company profits, not
They're
jobs.
they're not going to
They've
get.
already slimmed down to as meager an operation as they can do. They can't get rid of the jobs to keep operating.
Yeah.
So
There's actually normally a tradition that oppositions won't block fiscal policies, like revenue raising stuff. Like they normally the Liberal Party wouldn't block that, but they did.
I think I don't know. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure whenever there's been a new tax suggested, I reckon the Liberal Party often probably does block.
Well, there was a debate because
That's kind of their thing,
The
is
Liberal
to
Party
block-
in the upper house were like, "Look, it's not our place to block fiscal policies if the government's doing revenue raising in the upper house." But the lower house guys were like, "You need to fucking fall in line."
oh wow.
And it's funny to see Mike Nahan sort of 6 months after when he was like, after losing the election, he was like, "We'll do whatever we can to help repair the budget and get things back in order." Now he's like, "You're just gonna have to cancel Metronet." What can I do? What can I do?
That Mark, was he Mike Nahan?
Mike Nahan.
He's the most annoying politician I've ever seen.
With fantastic ties.
He's so
He's the
annoying.
political equivalent of watching grass grow.
No, I think he's more punchable than that. definitely more of an urge to punch that than I have a blade of grass.
I always found Kim Beazley to be the political equivalent of watching grass grow.
Yeah, definitely.
Not a bad politician, probably very
No.
competent.
Boy from
Just
Rockingham.
fucking Jesus. Just no real personality. Why not? Shouldn't have been leader of the Federal Labor Party. Bill Shorten's pretty grass growy at times.
Most of the time.
Smoke some grass, you'd be interesting that way, Bill.
Yeah.
Get some fucking edge. Have a personality.
On another domestic interesting point, have you seen the sort of fallout from the Fox? The Murdoch, and I forget who he was teaming up with to try and buy out Channel 10,
So good.
and how they'd sort of stacked up Sky
With
News
right-wing
to move them
commentators,
into Channel 10, and how they're sort of they've got nowhere to go.
They got nowhere to go and no viewership. Yeah, it's a shame.
Well, they stacked Sky up thinking they were just going to
They were
transpose
going
all
to
the
try and turn
stuff.
it into, because their bid and part of their thing, how they're going to make 10 more functional and cheaper was to use Sky News to provide the news side of the business,
Which had been modelled on the Fox News.
which had been modelled on Fox, which they'd stacked with all these right-wing commentators and Mark Latham for a bit of balance.
and Graham Richards,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and Graham-
yeah.
Was it a bit of balance?
who are right wing on the left wing.
Yeah, Richo's all right. And then it all fell apart, and CBS the winning bid, and then they tried to sue people to try and make sure they could buy it. I don't know what their plan was there. They laughed out of court probably.
Yeah,
So CBS bought it, the American
yes.
yeah.
broadcasting. Was it? I can't
So basically, they just won the license. There was no infrastructure in Channel 10 they particularly wanted. So then they've got all their own prepackaged TV shows and whatnot.
And they know how to run a television network.
And it'll give some diversity to the Australian market, which will be nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be good diversity, but
Well, I mean,
it'll be something.
Lachlan's proved he can't run a television network. I mean, they probably intentionally ran
or a
10
mobile phone network.
probably intentionally ran
or-
10 into the ground so that they could then
Yeah.
try and buy it out. But under his leadership, shit got very bad.
Gina Reinhardt lost a lot of money in the Channel 10 venture.
That's
Yeah.
right. She tried to buy her way into.
Buy away in, then prop up her mate Andrew Bolt.
Mm.
Yeah.
That failed.
Well, Bolt's on
He chose
Sky now.
to leave Channel 10 to go to Sky.
They were paying him to be on Channel 10. They were paying for him to be on Channel 10.
Yes. And then after
He was
left
not
it,
being paid by
they
Channel
still
10.
had to pay
Yeah.
to put his show on. There was some
Yeah,
weird
they were
thing,
paying Channel 10 to broadcast his show.
which no one's watching.
The Bolt Report.
Show's not quite ready for that pre-packaged conservatism.
It's not ready for prime time.
It's weird, though, because he was reasonably well regarded when he was on Insiders with Barry Cassidy. Like,
Yes.
It was good to see
But that was with
actually
contrast.
having contrasting views, whereas having him just on his own, people were like, yeah, not interested.
It's funny because he's the only. He did like a podcast. Was the only one that I could ever find Australian right wing podcast. Was
Still
one
does
that, yeah, but it's the only one I can find. It's not really that good. It's pretty fucking boring actually. But the only other one I've been able to find was one called Red Ice, which is based out. It comes out of Germany and that. But there's not a lot of
why do you
right wing
need-
media.
Well, for a start, you can get anything you want.
On- sorry,
Radio
right-wing-
2GB's website, Jason.
No,
You can listen
no,
to the
I'm
Ray
talking
Hadley
about-
show.
I'm talking
You
about.
can listen to Pete Dutton weekly
Yeah, I don't.
if you want.
I really
Sounds
don't.
like torture.
I really don't. That's why I couldn't listen to Bolt. I was looking for some grassroots sort of
Grassroots
independent
conservatism.
media. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
there's not as much around. There's plenty in the
think
US. There doesn't seem to be as much here in
There's
Australia.
not actually that much in. I mean, Fox
There's
News,
heaps in the US.
but Fox News viewership is
I'm not
like
talking about Fox News. I'm talking
like
about independent, like compared
under
to
5%
left
of the
wing.
population.
Compared to left wing independent media, there's a heap more.
I think there's heaps that we would consider to be right wing, but there's probably Americans out there that are like, it's not that right wing for them.
Well, not for them. But- yeah. Okay. Anyway, there's heaps more out there than there is. On
Yeah,
the
no.
left.
Well, there's
But it's
320
they're
million.
funded though.
Yeah, but I
There's
couldn't even
funding for
find
those
anything in
guys.
it. I thought there must be something in Australia, but apparently Andrew Bolt's
No
one of
one's
the few
throwing
ones
any
around.
money towards them. That's
Except
the-
Andrew Bolt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, that's the point. They can only get a platform if someone's willing to pay them.
Mm.
No one really wants to listen to them. That's the same issue in America. No one really wants to listen to these guys. That's why they get paid to do their shtick.
Mm.
Yeah.
Whereas people on the more the progressive views that people are very passionate, legitimately passionate about their views and willing to do it for free.
There's probably also a correlation between conservatism and age and progressivism and understanding the
But you're
internet.
forgetting about your alt lights like your Dave Rubins and
I'm not
Mike
forgetting about
Senovich.
them. I'm just saying that
they're there. We don't have those. We don't have those equivalent here in Australia yet either.
We don't, but once again, they're getting paid by conservative money.
if you take, for example, the issue of same-sex marriage, the majority of the no vote, the conservative vote, is over 65 white males.
I'd probably say over 50.
Okay, sure. They're probably look. That would be an even bigger section. But there's not a lot of young people out there that feel overly conservative, unless they're young and religious, and they're dying out too. Don't know.
That's all I got.
I'm out. I ran out ages ago.
Thanks for listening. I've been Franco.
I mean, Jason.
I've been Dean at normal speed.
I set you up for that.
You did.